Hey you guys, this is Bawdy, and this is my Underworld Blood Wars review. As you've noticed, I've been experimenting with things and trying new shit out. I hope y'all enjoy it. Underworld Blood Wars is the most disappointing movie since Resident Evil Retribution. What sort of intro is that? One that compares shitty movies. But seriously, Blood Wars is probably the worst Underworld movie made to date. Which is difficult to say because none of the movies are all that bad if you consider yourself a fan of the franchise. So then, what was so bad about Blood Wars? Well, it will take a while to explain, but if you want the short of it, I'd give this movie a 5 out of 10. There. Those of you who are TLDR people can go away now. As for the rest of you, let's giddy up. And yes, there will be spoilers. Part 1, Blood Wars. The first thing wrong with Blood Wars is the fucking title. I'm sorry, but isn't the whole series a blood war? It's been Lycans versus vampires since the very beginning. Even in Awakening, it was still vamps and Lycans, even though they tried to punk us all super hard. So the fact that they had the balls to call this movie Blood Wars really burns my ass. It's super redundant and redonk. Seriously, there's so many better possible titles for this movie, such as The Sacred World, Lycan Renaissance, Vampires vs. Lycans 5. Oh wait, maybe not that one. Part 2, Too Many Flashbacks. Almost every movie in the Underworld franchise, except for the first one, rely heavily on flashbacks in order to tell their story. While it's usually interesting and adds an aspect of continuative narrative, meaning that the whole series is basically Celine's story, Blood Wars uses flashbacks like a fucking crutch. The opening exposition tells the audience a story that they should already know, and goes beyond the limits that it needs to. Seriously, that was one long-ass opening bit of exposition. Then later on, Thomas sacrifices himself so that David can escape the Eastern Coven with Celine. However, Celine was injured during the escape, and David ends up giving some of his blood to Celine so that she can regenerate. In doing so, she sees the blood memories of Thomas dying, and I have to ask why. Okay, so maybe she sees the part where Samira fucking stabs him, but was it necessary to show as much of it as they did? There were more than a few times during this movie where I had a feeling they were trying to add filler. The ironic bit about that is that the movie should have been much longer than it was, but I'll get more into that later. Part 3. Marius is top dog. Okay, so the premise of the movie is that the Lycans have a new leader named Marius, and he's coming to kick the vampires' heads in. But in the movie, they say he's different because he has managed to unite the Lycans and is leading them to victory, and the vampires' numbers are dwindling quickly. Now, I have a huge problem with this, which is, I'm sorry, but what about Lucian? He was the first Lycan. He helped to start the war against the vampires, and he took the Lycans underground in a complex scheme to bring about the end of the war. Saying that Marius is somehow bigger, badder, and better than Lucian just fucking offends me. There'd be no Marius without Lucian, and let's all remember that Lucian was going up against Victor, Marcus, and Amelia. You know, real fucking vampires. Real fucking elders. Not those ass clowns who had to hastily take over after them. Let's also not forget about what Antigen tried to pull back in Awakening. I don't know about you, but Lycans mixing their own blood with the hybrids in order to beef themselves up seemed pretty damn threatening and impressive. Not to mention, they owned and operated a whole damn corporation. Doesn't that take some unification and leadership? Now, some of you may be going, but wait, Marius did mix his blood with Michael's. I'll be addressing this again later, but the fact that Marius pulled the same stunt that we already saw in Awakening also kind of infuriates me. Why can't these assholes think of something new? Or, why can't Marius just be a battle-hardened, smart, savvy warrior? That would have been much more impressive than copying something from the previous movie. Part 4. Varga used Nightshade. It was super effective. Fucking Nightshade. Are you seriously going to sit there, look me in the eye, and tell me that Nightshade can paralyze and potentially kill a vampire Corvinus hybrid like Celine? Fuck right off. Celine can walk in the sun, she can fight a werewolf the size of a tank, and take down Marcus in his hybrid form. She's the strongest vampire in existence. But just a little bit of Nightshade is enough to bring her down? Kiss my ass. I don't believe it. Part 5. Too many plots. The Underworld series is no stranger to backstabbing and complots of all sorts. Hell, they've been around since the first movie, and they've been in every movie since. But when a character like Samira or Alexia backstab their own people for power or sex, and I don't blink, or worse, I'm expecting it, then you know that the writing has become predictable and tired. Seriously, I'm so damn tired of plots and backstabbing, and I don't even watch Game of Thrones. Would it be too much to ask that no one backstabbed anyone else? You know, can't they all just get along? And how many of these damn conspiracies actually work? Considering that they've never worked on camera, the audience has a right and reason to disparage them. Maybe it's time to try a new angle. Part 6. The Sacred World. Now, I've got a few problems with the idea of the sacred world. Not so much that it exists. Oh no. I mean, we're talking vamps and lichens here. If anything, I'm surprised that such a concept is only coming up now. Although it is still somewhat out of place, considering that the vamp and lichen strains are due to a virus and not anything mystical. But this all feeds into one of my problems with the sacred world. Alright, so my first problem. What the hell is the sacred world? It's quite possible that it was explained during the movie, but because of the horrible sound mixing, I couldn't fucking hear what Lena, whatever the fuck her name was, said when she was talking about it, even despite the theater's sound system. But my real problem with the sacred world is that we never get to see it. Alright, so we know that Selene is going to go to the sacred world. We saw in the previews that her hair turns white and she gets a new superpower. Then we see Lena and we know why. But at no time are we ever shown the sacred world or what happens when someone gets there. I mean, what the fuck? I felt gypped. I wanted to see the sacred world. Find out how it is that vampires can now teleport and shit. And I would have gladly sacrificed other scenes in the movie to have seen it. Such as, I don't know, the scene where Samira kisses Alexia, or the one where Varga eats Samira out. Seriously, why the fuck are those scenes even in there? But my major qualm with the sacred world is how quickly Selene accepts the existence of the sacred world. Now, call me crazy, but I wouldn't have pegged Selene as the spiritual or religious type. She really doesn't seem like it. She's one of those people who does rather than thinks or believes. It's one of the reasons why she's such an excellent warrior and assassin. She's good with the physical world. Therefore, movie-making logic stipulates that she's no good with the metaphysical world. In fact, in Awakening, when she's confronting Detective Sebastian and is telling him about how lichens just attacked the Coven and he isn't surprised, she asks how. He tells her that it was just a feeling. Her response? Well, I'm not good with feelings. That's pretty indicative of what sort of person Selene is. I mean, at the very least, give Selene a few minutes of doubt or disbelief. Or maybe after the lichens retreat from the Nordic Coven and kick her shit in, have Selene still be conscious. And have Lena tell her that the only way she can beat Marius now is by going to the sacred world and getting the new superpower. I don't know, makes sense to me.